April 17th, and we are live on PuckTime, WagerTalk TV. Andrew McGinnis and Brian Leonard. And Brian, good to see you as always. This is one of those types of shows where you really got to put your handicapping tools to the test because, well, there is literally no motivation besides contracts, maybe playing for something moving forward, or just trying to end the season on a good note, as every single playoff position has now been filled. The matchups have been decided, and I believe as we speak, the schedule for the playoffs is being decided on. But there's always room to find something to bet on and find an edge in a certain game. How do you approach this type of stuff, Brian?
Yeah, I said last week when I was on the show that I was going to be very selective. I think I've only had 2 plays since then. It's a situation where a lot of the things I do is motivational or situational when it comes to scheduling, and it's a guess at this point. I hate to bring it up, but it ended up working out well. But Montreal, congratulations on the Habs making the playoffs. But that had to have been the sweat of all sweats, because when they played the other day and they were favored at home, I did the show with Carmine, and I said, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to put out a play on them because they've got to have this game, and this is the perfect situation. And in true Montreal fashion, they blew it, and they lost that game, I believe, in overtime. So congratulations on your team making the playoffs, and hopefully they'll have some luck in that regard. I'd hate to see them go all throughout that and then get swept in the first round. So, but congratulations on your team making the playoffs. And I was kind of torn. I know you were the Montreal fan, and then I'm from Cleveland, so I kind of was rooting for Columbus also. I'd have been happy either way. So, but I just hope they show up pretty well in the playoffs, either team that made it.
Well, I'll try not to spend too much time on it because I know Buster and I were definitely cheering them on quite a bit yesterday on the show. But the key from the management, players, everybody at the beginning of the season was the expression "in the mix." That's what they said that they wanted to be in. Obviously, the players wanted to make the playoffs, but they kept on using the word mix. They were tired of being a lottery team. They were tired of getting these top 5 picks. They wanted to take a step up. And although when December was, December 30th, they were like second last in the league. They had that huge push after Christmas and then after the Four Nations tournament. But you got to play a team like Washington. So we cannot wait for the playoffs. We'll have playoff picks and packages. Brian, Leonard, myself, you can get our playoff round picks, our prop sides, totals, all that good stuff. But with all that being said, Brian, we're here to talk about today. And I've tried to pick 3 games I thought could be worth mentioning. Today we're going to talk about Capitals, Penguins, Red Wings, Leafs, and the Flames and the Kings. With everything that's gone on over the years with Alexander Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby, the rivalry that they have together. And I watched an interview actually he was actually on the Pat McAfee show. And Pat asked him, hey, what's your relationship like with Sid? And it was very honest. He said, you know what? It didn't used to be a good one, but it got so much better over the years. And obviously the media stirred these two guys against each other. And if you look at it, the Penguins really got the best of Washington early on. And then, of course, Washington wins their cup, and then Ovi gets his breaks Wayne Gretzky's record. So individually, they've both had a ton of success. So one team's obviously off to the playoffs and one team's not here, Brian. But I'm seeing a round of pick'em here for this game. What comes to mind for you with this one?
Yeah, it reminds me of when we were young. Well, when I was young, and you'd play against your buddies in sports, and it was always very intense. And you respected their game, but you still wanted to go out and beat them. And as the years go by, you tend to mellow out a little bit, and you listen to like the Michael Jordans and the Larry Birds and the Magic Johnsons back in that day. They, especially when it came to Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, they despised each other. But as they got older, now they're friends. So it's a situation where it's something you grow to. But when you're young, you think you're the best. You think you can kick everybody's butt. And it's great that they're getting together now. In fact, I remember when just what was it, a couple weeks ago when Fleury was going against Washington, and Ovi had everybody come out on the ice and stay on the ice to shake his hand. That was very impressive. I've never been an overall Ovi fan. I know he's a great player, but it's just not one of my favorites. But when he did that, that gave me a totally different look at him. And now he's turned into a guy that I root for. So just something simple like that. But let's get back to the hockey. Washington and Pittsburgh. In 5-on-5 play the last 30 days, we find Washington at 52.10 on expected goal share. Pittsburgh comes in at 46.26. The Capitals have been on cruise control really as of late, with the number one seed never in doubt. And they've split their two meetings with the Penguins so far this season. Penguins lost at home to Boston on Sunday 4-1 and have had the last 3 days off. That's normally a pretty nice motivational advantage during the regular season, but it's hard to predict meaningless games down the stretch. We kind of talked about that coming into this. The early bettors feel about the same way as I do on this game in the bookmakers, because it is around the pickup situation. They're having a hard time getting a grip on it. I also have a hard time getting a grip on the side in this game, but I do like the over. And normally you will see a lot of these teams that really have nothing to play for, they will rest some of their better players, but it gives the other guys a chance to spend more time on the ice. And when they're on the ice, they really want to score. And we saw it in the Vegas game last night. They had a player come in and scored his first goal, and that meant more to the team than winning the meaningless game. So it's a situation for me where I don't like the side, but we're getting a decent total here. So I'm going to play this game over the total.
I'm right there with you in your thought process there, Brian, on this one. And I just look at, you talk about cruise control being kind of the way it's been for Washington lately. And it's not like they don't want to end the season on a good note, but they had such a dominant start to their year. They've had such a privilege to be able to sit back. Excuse me. But when I look at this team, I also think that they do want to go in to the playoffs on a strong note, because even though they're the top seed and they have such a great position in the Eastern Conference, they don't want to go in lightly. So I am very curious to see what they do with their lineup tonight. But this Pittsburgh Penguins team, the fact that they're playing at home, I think is a huge part of it. Because if you're talking about the total here, you obviously want Pittsburgh to contribute. And that's why when I look at team totals, they're getting the slight edge. The over 3.5 for Pittsburgh is plus 125. The over 3.5 for Washington is plus 135. When I look at the lineups projected for tonight, we've got a couple younger guys projected to get a little bit of an opportunity for Pittsburgh. But for the most part, I'm still seeing Sidney Crosby, Brian Rust, Danton Heinen, Malkin, Raquel, all of these guys, the usual suspects out there. And it's because they want to end the season off on a good note at home. When you look at this team right now, they've definitely been an up and down team. They lost 3-1 against the Chicago Blackhawks on April 6th. Just a couple of days later, they get to play the exact same team and they win 5-0. They beat the Devils 4-2, and then a couple of days later, they lose 4-1 against the Boston Bruins, as you were just talking about there, Brian. This is a team I think that will end the season on a good note. A great leadership core, and it's certainly been a very disappointing season. So despite Washington probably still wanting to stay focused, wanting to go into the playoffs on a good note, I think Pittsburgh gets to 4 here. So over 3.5 team total at plus 125. And, Brian, you like the over in this game. And I advise anybody that likes this game at all to decide which team they think will win, because I think whatever team wins gets to 4 goals. So plus 125 for Pittsburgh to get to 4, plus 135 to Washington to get to 4 goals. Should be interesting here, Brian. And how much do you think it goes into account that Pittsburgh's playing at home?
It definitely makes a difference, especially with the crowd that Pittsburgh has. They're known to have a really strong fan base, and it's very important for them to go out on a positive note. I'm assuming most teams have on their final home game, they have the giveaways and a lot of that stuff. I know they have them in Vegas and they have them in a few other places. I'm sure they have that in Pittsburgh too. So the thing about the last game of the season is a lot of fans who are diehard fans um, kind of lose interest when the team doesn't perform well. Well, at the end of the season, that opens up some spots, especially for a team that sells out a lot, for casual fans to get in and say, hey, we might win a prize or something. Let's go check out the team. And I think that makes the home team have a little bit more spunk to themselves, where they go, hey, we've got customers here that or people coming in that are casual fans. Maybe we could draw them in and with a good effort. So that's something I take a look at. But I do have a question for you while we're talking about motivation. What's going on with Dallas? Dallas, I was out the other night watching the Knights game with Marco, and he's a guy who is very similar to me when he's looking at the schedule, figuring out when you're going to have a good game, when you can take a game off, something like that. And he was dumbfounded by the way Dallas has ended the season, and I'm kind of the same way. This is a veteran team. Maybe they know more than I do. Obviously, they know more than I do, but still, it's a team that is entering the playoffs. What, they've lost 7 in a row? I have some concerns about that.
Well, a lot of people have thought it's an absolute shame with the playoff format, sometimes how it has to work out, that Colorado and Dallas are going to meet in the first round, which people think that
Mm-hmm.
those two are potentially two of the best.
Yes.
Vegas as well, Winnipeg, don't get me wrong, but it's a shame that those guys have to meet in the very first round. I don't know what to say about them, Brian, other than the fact that the whole cruise control thing should not be in effect for them. And the
Right.
reason why I don't think it should be there for them is because, sure, they made the conference finals last year, but they haven't won anything. It's not like they made the Stanley Cup finals. It's not like they've had success the past few years. I don't know if cruise control should work for them. And I don't know if you saw the news, but Jason Robertson, key player for Dallas, left in a brace of yesterday. So not only are they ending the season on a bad note, they can't even rest players properly. So they just lost a player definitely for a couple of games, I would say. There's no way someone can tell me a player's leaving the rink in a brace and he's going to be able to play this weekend in game one. I would be shocked to see that. But look, I've got futures on Colorado. I like them. And, I think that it's going to be real interesting to see what Dallas does because, as we always say, sometimes you got to just get to the dance. It doesn't matter how you get there, you're already in. But some teams, I think it's important for them to get into the dance on a really good note. So should be interesting to take a look at. The next one we'll look at here, Brian, and I'll just say this real quick, not every time we're going to be able to fade the team that's already in. I do think today there are some really good opportunities for it, and it just sets up very well for it. Yesterday, I was wrong with the Devils and Red Wings one. That did not make the client card, but I did give that one out on the show as a play. It was a good show, though, for Buster and I, but I did think the Devils should be focused because they need to go in on a good note. And once again, the non-playoff team beat the playoff team. So let's take a look at the New York Rangers game here, Brian. We'll see if we're on the same page here. But again, this is one of those ones where I'm following the money. I am looking at the number at minus 115 opener, circa right now, minus 137. DraftKings is only minus 130. When I see circa have a bigger number than DraftKings, that is like me having to run as fast as I can without stretching to the window because something's going on. Usually DraftKings has the most inflated number on favorites possible, and even they haven't kept up with this number here. Yesterday, the Montreal Canadiens were around plus 100 at one point. I saw some people tweeting out that they bet the Canadiens minus 155. Minus 155. And that's what people get for betting right before the game starts. So I like New York Rangers to get the job done minus 130. It has been a shit show, for lack of better words. There's nothing else I can say about this New York Rangers team this year. But they've got the talent, man. They really do have the talent. And sometimes when there's nothing else to lose and you're going out there and simply playing with pride and for contracts next year, the coaches are playing for something. And Tampa, they've accomplished their goals. They're playing in the battle of the Sunshine State in the postseason. They get this game out of the way. They play probably a low-scoring, tight game. I say they lose this one, maybe 3-2, 4-2 with the empty net goal, and the New York Rangers get the job done. Are you with me on this one?
It's interesting. I didn't give this one the same looks as I did some of the games that we were going to prepare for, but I feel the same way. The Rangers opened 115. Now I see a 140 at FanDuel. Money's coming on the Rangers, and I wrote off the Rangers last week when I was on the show. They had last three games they had played. There was 10, 11, and 13 goals scored, and they were playing Florida, and Florida was a team that needed the victory. They were playing, I believe, they were playing in Florida, and I laid the number with Florida in that game. Those two games I'll talk about today were the only two that I've used in probably the last week in hockey because of that. And the Rangers came out and they beat Florida. And I said, you know what? I said, normally I take a look at these games. If you're a veteran team like the Rangers, you were the team that had the most wins in the regular season last year, and you're giving up a lot of goals at the end of the season, that tells me that you're tuned out. You're done. You're not going to come to play. And they beat Florida in that game, and that really impressed me. And it's something that I really did not expect to happen. So yeah, I take everything I said back badly about the Rangers the other day, but I understand this line move. I don't know if I can lay it, but that's the only side I would play. Is it was clear that Tampa Bay wanted to get where they were at, and they're still a veteran team that has had a lot of success in the past, so anything can happen. But yeah, the Rangers, I was wrong on them the other day, and I fully admit it.
Well, I don't think it was just you, Brian. I think a lot of us, I think a lot of people, including the odds makers, looked at this Rangers team, and the two teams that were projected to definitely be in the playoffs were the Senators and the Rangers, not the Blue Jackets, not the Canadians, not the New York Islanders. And, those are the teams that ended up being in the race, and the New York Rangers just ran out of gas there. So it is interesting. The only thing about these situations is that, to your point, with the money, with the way the price is, you have to ask yourself, because there's going to be some playoff teams that are good enough to beat these teams that didn't make the playoffs, even without all their key players. That's why they're so good. It's like people love to bet against a team with a quarterback resting in the NFL. Well, it's adjusted to the point spread.
Yeah.
That team is still good without that quarterback. There's a reason why they're in the playoffs. So Tampa Bay is still good without a couple key guys, but I think this is going to be one of those games that we'll probably be talking about this tomorrow and saying, how did New York not make the playoffs? And if that's the case, then we're spot on here with this one, and we get the job done. Team total wise, I wouldn't look towards the over with this one. I'd actually probably look towards a team total under for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So if anybody is trying to get away from this price here, and usually I try and find a way for people to do so, the over 3.5 is plus 100. The under 2.5 for Tampa is plus 130. I feel like that could be an interesting one to look for New York to play a good defensive game and try and find a way to get some plus money here, because I do think this one could be a low scoring game. I don't see this one being reckless whatsoever. So we'll see how that goes. All right, Brian, we've got some great promos going on at WagerTalk.com. Before I bring up the standalone one we have going for all of us, is there anything you want to mention for hockey, for baseball, for the seasons that you're having? Anything you want to mention?
No, I'm actually passing on everything today, even in baseball as well as hockey. I am excited for the playoffs coming up, and this is my favorite time of the season. We've got baseball going on. We've got the hockey playoffs. We've got the NBA playoffs. And I've said many times in the past, it's so hard to handicap the NBA on a daily basis because you never know who's going to play. By the time you figure it out, the people in the know have already moved the number on you, and you can't do it. But in the NBA playoffs, I know a lot of us have had success in the past because we know the motivations there every single day. We know who's going to play every single game. And it makes it a lot easier to handicap, and that's why we've had, at least I know I've had much more success in the NBA playoffs than I've had in any season in the last decade in the NBA. So we've got great spots to make money. Baseball right now, the hockey playoffs here, and the NBA playoffs. And so if you're looking to buy any long-term packages, playoff packages, not only for myself, I would recommend it for anybody. because the guys who are following the sports each and every day are in the same boat as I am. And when you're getting good information like you do during the playoffs, you're able to take advantage of that. And I used to start when I started, 40 years ago or whatever. I was an NBA only handicapper. All the time, all that player management and time management, it really has screwed up my handicapping during the regular season. So I rarely give out many plays during the regular season, but in the playoffs, it's a total different ball game, and I'm getting really excited about that. It's my favorite time of the year.
It's a shame that it's come to that, Brian, but you're absolutely right. You know what you're going to get. You know the situations teams are in. You know the lineups. You start to learn the schemes, and the coaches' quotes. It's all believable. During the season, you don't know what you're going to get with that. Right now, for $11 a day, guys, pick a capper of your choice, pick a sport of your choice. $77, 7 days of expert picks. We're talking baseball. We're talking hockey. We're talking basketball. We're talking UFC, golf, whatever it might be, of your choice. $11 a day. And for me, I'll just mention hockey, doing extremely well with hockey, but low volume has been the name of the game for me. So I haven't liked a lot lately, but when I do have something, I love it. And that's been kind of working out very well for me. And as I've been mentioning a lot on the show lately, my win percentage this year was 52%. And some people might say, 52%. But my average play was around plus 100, plus 105. We had some plus 120. My average 5% price was plus 115. And we were at the top of the leaderboard as far as 5% NHL plays. So did really well with selecting great prices, managing the bankroll, and getting the job done. I got a big play coming out for the playoffs this afternoon. Can't wait for that. So, guys, if you want to start off with the playoffs, 7 days, or join me for an all-access pass for the remainder of the season. Looking forward to having a ton of success. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this as well, Brian, even though I'm jealous of the guy drinking wine and cheese and having some really good times right now in Europe. Carmine is on a 10-1 NHL run. So some people say they do better when they travel. And I don't know what happened to that guy. You got on a plane and all of a sudden he's on these crazy runs. But he's been doing very well lately. So guys, don't forget about Carmine, 10-1 NHL run, moving to the playoffs. All right, Brian, I got to grab a glass of water here for a second. Vegas and Vancouver, if you could help me out, I'd appreciate that.
Vegas, Vancouver played yesterday, but I will point out in that game, nobody's expecting Vegas to do well in that game. I didn't expect it, surely. Vegas did come in with benching a lot of their stars, but they did bring in Pietrangelo and Eichel, who hadn't played in a while. They were taking some time off. Stone didn't play, so they came in and they actually performed very well. They won that game yesterday. I wasn't expecting it. They played better than I thought. But talk about depth in the playoffs. That's something you need. You need, and Vegas is a very deep team. So it's something that you got to take a look at as you go on. The fourth line for Vegas has been very good as of late. So that's a game that worked out pretty well if you bet Vegas because of the depth. And I think that's going to be something we're going to see in the playoffs when this weekend comes around.
Brian, you're an absolute pro because I meant to give you the Calgary and Kings game, but I love that you answered that. And it is interesting to see about the Knights because, this Knights team, talk about being a true pro. That's what I would describe the coaching staff and the players on the Vegas Golden Knights. It seems like a really well-oiled machine over there as they're quietly getting ready for the playoffs. It's one thing to be injured before the playoffs, but if you can get away with those injuries and then enter the postseason healthy, that's all you can ask of your team. And it seems like they're looking pretty good as it stands right now. All right, this one, talk about prices getting a little bit out of control here. I just wanted to mention, I thought that this game today, I thought that this one here is a little bit, I just thought that the Kings number has gotten so high that I just didn't really know what to do with it. What do you think about that one?
I think it's a little bit high, to be honest with you. Maybe they just assume Calgary's not going to show. I don't know. But I think the value is with Calgary here. Both teams have fared well over the last month. 5-on-5 play. The Flames expected goal share of 55.73, which is very good. And the Kings have done that all year long. Last month, 53.97. Calgary come up a bit short in their chase for the playoffs, but a win tonight will give them a non-losing season. And getting back to the Vegas yesterday, that was one of the things they talked about yesterday after the game, was they got to reach 50 wins on the season. That was with their motivation in that game. And if you're a coach in any sport, you're trying to motivate your team. Well, right now, Calgary, if they win tonight, they'll have 41 wins and 41 losses combined with the overtime losses and all. It's still 41-41. That is some way for them to motivate the team here. I think that's going to be a little bit of motivation for them. They've also won 3 straight, so they can end this season on a positive note, winning 4 straight, ending the year. They do it against a divisional rival. So Calgary also won both games against the Kings this season at home. So they've been able to match up pretty well with Los Angeles. Tonight they're going to bring up some of their young guys. They got 3, what they hope to be future stars, getting a chance to play tonight. So that also brings a little bit of excitement to the game for Calgary. So that's the side I'm leaning with here. And, you know, Los Angeles, they're set to take on their playoff nemesis, Edmonton. They've had an astounding home record mark this year of 31-5-4. I guess if you're looking for a motivational edge from them, to be able to play an entire season and not lose double digits at home, that's pretty impressive. When looking at net goals, you got to give that to the LA Kings. They're up 65 net goal advantage on the season against Calgary here. But I think the motivation is with Calgary here. But after being in full win mode for the past 3 weeks, we likely won't see the same emotion tonight. But that said, LA is expected to rest some key players too. So I prefer Calgary. I'm surprised that this line has come out. It opened at 145. Now it's up to, I say 162, 170 out there at one place. So money has come in on LA, and I disagree. If I'm going to play it, I play Calgary.
That's the thing you got to ask yourself is like, man, you know, they played so hard down the stretch. They worked so hard to get there and then end up getting that win in the shootout over Vegas. And with the Wild scoring late in the game, it just didn't matter. And it's like, man, for all of that to take place, for the way they've played so well, maybe people are thinking that they've just run out of gas. They're fatigued, they're exhausted, and LA will get the job done. But I don't know how I feel about that price, Brian. It's just a little bit too steep to fade them. Like you said, for me, it'd probably be dog or pass as well. I don't play a lot of 5.5s under, but I think I'd probably look towards the under in this one because I do think both teams will take this game seriously defensively, and LA will not want to go into the game on into the playoffs on a sloppy note. Brian, one thing I've noticed about one other team, and I'm just literally testing you here. I'm throwing every single game at you. I'm gonna have to, get Carmine back on the show here to keep me in line because I'm just throwing random games at you now. But one thing I've noticed about the Maple Leafs is that since their new coach took over, they've done a bit better of a job of not having letdown spots. And I think that right now, looking at this Leafs team, they have been able to not have to worry about their team losing focus in the point of the season. Right now, this is a meaningless game for the Maple Leafs. They're playing at home. Do you think they show up for this one against the Detroit Red Wings? Because I think the Red Wings are going to care about this game.
Yeah, it's interesting. The line opened at 160. It's taken a little bit of money, but you can still get 160 here on Toronto if you like it. There's another reason why I'm a little bit sorry that Carmine's not here, or at least a Toronto fan, because of the situations they've had getting to the playoffs and losing early, and the whole bit is kind of interesting how they're going to finish this game for this season. But 5-on-5 play, the last 30, Detroit comes in at 48.34, and expected goal share to Maple Leafs 53.23. So they're coming in on a pretty good streak here. And despite being eliminated from the postseason, the Red Wings enter playoffs on a nice 6-3-1 run. So even though they got eliminated not quite eliminated, but they were really a long shot for a while, they're still playing some pretty good hockey. a second game of a back-to-back as Detroit defeated the Devils in New Jersey yesterday. You talked a little about that game earlier. It's also their 5th game in 8 days and 3rd in 4. So you got a tired team, but you have a team that has outperformed what I thought they would do down the stretch. They played some competitive hockey. Toronto's clinched the 2nd seed in the East, but they're 8th overall in scoring differential. So this is a team that I think a lot of people, I've read a lot of national writers that think Toronto could take it all this year. I'm a little concerned about that. They may be the 2nd seed here, but the West is a lot stronger than the teams they'll play in the East. Washington has put up a better mark than they do. In fact, the 3rd seeded team in this conference is Tampa Bay. And if you take a look at the net goal advantage on the season, Tampa Bay is plus 43 net goals over Toronto. So Tampa Bay is the better team also going into the playoffs. Toronto is peaking with a 12-3 record entering the playoffs. So to their credit, they are playing well right now. We'll see how it goes, but the early money's come in on the Red Wings, and it got hit a little bit. Toronto got hit a little bit lately, but I like the Red Wings side. You got to expect Toronto to rest a little bit of their players tonight. That's the only way I would look in this one. I like Detroit.
Brian, similar to the last game we talked about, I'm just going to choose to go with the under. I think that the Maple Leafs have to start off playoff mode right now. Maybe it won't be superstars. Maybe it won't be a lot of scoring. You know, Detroit's going to care about this one, so I wouldn't argue that pick you're making. But I think the under is the play here. They don't want to go into this playoffs. I don't care who's out there on the roster for the Leafs tonight playing pond hockey. If you show me a 5-4 scoreline tonight, it'll be an absolute disgrace for this team. They're going to want to play a defensive and tight checking game to get started right now on playoff mode. That's what they're going to need. And I know a lot of people are writing off Ottawa and saying they don't have a chance. But I think that if they get bought into playoff mode now against Detroit, it will help them out big time and get them prepared for what should be a physical series against the Senators. So another under for me will go on here. All right, Brian, I have tested you. I have probably confused you. I've given you a million games to look at. I appreciate working with you. I love talking hockey with you. And you know what? There are ways to make money tonight in the NHL. There are spots for us to bet on tonight in the NHL. Do you have anything up or anything looking forward to the playoffs? And if not, what's your show best bet for Thursday?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm passing overall today. No need to force things. We got better opportunities when the playoffs start. I'm going to go back to the first game we talked about, was that Washington-Pittsburgh game. I think we both kind of like Pittsburgh, and I also like the over in that game. I'm going to use that as my best bet. I do want to point out that I'm now seeing 3 of the major sports books, Pinnacle, DraftKings, and FanDuel, have now gone to 6.5. This was really juiced 5.5 on the overnights at minus 130, but there's still 6s out there. So I like the over in that one, but search for that 6, and you can get it at minus 118, minus 115, minus 20 right now. Don't want to have to go over 6.5. That gives us another goal. I don't want to have to worry about that. So let's play the over, but make sure you get that 6.
All right. You know what? I'm looking for a good game in that one, Brian. Hopefully it's a fun one to watch. That's the one I have circled on the board as well that should see some goals overall. Guys, I got a 5% NHL series play being posted today to my page at WagerTalk.com. So look for that. Looking forward to a really, really good playoffs. We were number 1 since the preseason, number 1 in the regular season, and we did really well with 5% plays as well. So check that out. Join me for the full playoffs as well. It's a great deal. And if not, $11 a day for the next 7 days of NHL. First couple games of the playoffs should be super exciting. My best bet for the show is going to be the NYR New York Rangers. Been a real disappointing season for them. In fact, you know, with seeing so many original 6 teams not be in the playoffs, you got to wonder what's going to happen over the next few years with some of those teams. But I feel like the Rangers, they end their season off on a good note, especially playing at home against Tampa. Give me the Rangers minus 130 before this price gets any crazier. I'm already seeing some 35s and 40s. Shop around, find the best price, and let's cash these tickets. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us all season long here on Puck Time. We really appreciate every single one of you in the live chat, the comments, on X, on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you reach out. it means a hell of a lot to myself, to Brian, to Buster, to Carmine, to Prez, to everybody here at WagerTalk. So thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time talking playoffs right here on PuckTime.